Welcome everyone. My name is Heidi Flagg. I am the Senior Marketing Manager here at SmartDeploy, and a big thank you for joining us today. We are doing a webcast this morning. This was a requested topic after we did a great ghost compete comparison a couple months ago. We had a lot of people asking us for an MDT comparison. So here we are today. We put together a nice presentation for everyone, and we're excited to have you here. I have a few people in the room here with me today. I have Spencer Dunford, our General Manager.
Good afternoon.
And also Eric Nymark, Senior Systems Engineer.
Hello.
You'll be hearing quite a bit from both of them today. And we also have a special guest speaker. We have Barry Weiss. He's the Director of IT at Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation. And we are very excited to have him on the line. Barry, are you there?
I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Great. Perfect. Everything's working this morning. That's always good. Just a few quick things before we get started. We've scheduled this webcast for 30 minutes, and we will try our very best to keep it to that and to cover everything. We have a lot that we're looking to cover today. So we will move kind of quickly. If you have questions along the way, feel free to use the questions section within the GoToWebinar to ask those. If it's relevant during the conversation and we can kind of answer it quickly and keep going, we'll answer those as they come up. Otherwise, we'll save them for a Q&A session. We've saved a few minutes at the end for live Q&A. So send those in as we go through the presentation, as anything comes up. We are also recording this event, so we will send out a recording tomorrow, probably a link to the recording tomorrow. So watch for that email from us, and we'll send along any other resources that we think would be relevant as follow-up to this webcast. And many of you might be here for this exciting live raffle. We will announce a live raffle winner at the end of the webcast after the presentation, and that person will win 25 SmartDeploy licenses and a year of support. So just a little something to get you going if you're interested in trying SmartDeploy, or if you happen to already be a customer, there's a few extra licenses. So we will announce that at the end of the presentation. And I think that is about everything from kind of a housekeeping perspective. So I am going to hand things over to Spencer Dunford to kick things off.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Heidi. Thanks again, everybody, for taking time to chat with us a little bit more about SmartDeploy and MDT. I wanted to give you just a quick background as to our organization for those of you that are new to SmartDeploy. So we started this business, it's getting close to 15 years ago, and we started initially as a consulting peer play organization. Initially we started an early investment in the virtualization space. We thought virtualization technology was fantastic and had a lot of useful purposes. Started to grow, and we saw that there were some challenges with customers being able to use and provision virtual machines as a technology. So we started initially making a lot of software-based tools to address some of those needs, working with some of the largest enterprises in technology. And in the course of working on that, realized that this problem wasn't unique to virtual machines even. It was even a much bigger problem with actual thick client and physical devices. And so we started developing our software tools in that way. So today we have roughly 2,000 customers worldwide, predominantly in North America. We're an independent organization that we're self-started and self-funded, and we remain independent so that we can stay agile and listen to you as customers and add the features that you want and expect to receive in a product that you enjoy using. So we enjoy working with customers. We enjoy the one-on-one interactions in a pre-sales and post-sales and support capacity, and try to build friendships and relationships with those of you in the IT community to try and make your lives a little bit easier as it pertains to technology together. In terms of a quick background of SmartDeploy and kind of what it is and what it's for, SmartDeploy at the highest level is Windows OS and application deployment software. So our goal is to allow you to leverage a single golden image, or as many as you want, but based off of the software that you want to have installed on users' devices, and then make sure that lands perfectly on any end user's device by handling device driver management pretty much all up for you. So you get the benefits of products like VDI without the cost or complexity or licensing confusion or ultimately end user performance or server-side backend. So it feels a little bit like a thin client in that way, but We're able to save you a bunch of cost as well, since you can use the local CPU and the RAM and hard drive, which sounds a lot more like a product like Ghost. So we kind of bridge gaps between existing products that are out on the market today and try and give customers a world-class product that's simple and straightforward to set up and use, and allows you to get this job done quickly. In terms of the SmartDeploy and MDT comparison, a lot of customers are obviously familiar with Microsoft and their tool sets, and we're fans of MDT. We like MDT a lot. We just felt that when Microsoft was developing these tools that there were some opportunities to make this technology more accessible to a wider range of IT professionals. Knowing that many of the customers that we deal with, a lot of times they're single or two-person teams that are responsible for their entire organization. It's not uncommon that we'll have user or organizations with 1,000 seats that have a team of 5 people left to do everything. So we're set up to help some of those organizations be successful and get a turnkey solution right out of the box. In contrast, MDT is wonderful because it's built to do whatever you want it to do. It just presupposes that you set everything up in the optimal way to go through and use the product. So I want to switch gears here and talk a little bit further about kind of ease of use. So MDT is set up like a workbench. You could almost, a lot of you are probably familiar with it, but it's similar to a box of Legos or something like that, where you can make the most amazing things in the world just so long as you're the engineer, the developer, the architect, the tester, the implementer. You got to wear a lot of hats, and that requires training, it requires research, it requires homework, it requires testing, and all of that means time. So if you spend the time on that, then it's going to be much more difficult to spend the time on potentially more strategic projects for your business. But good news is it's super flexible. It can work as well or as poorly as you ended up making it work. Conversely, SmartDeploy is designed to be kind of turnkey all out of the box. It's designed to put buttons and wizards around many of the common options that you would want to set MDT up for, with built-in best practices. Make it simple and easy. So one is a kind of a bespoke tool set that you build the way you like. The other is a turnkey out of the box, plug it, set it up and go. So I did want to turn some time over to Eric as well to talk even more specifically about device drivers and device driver management. As we've learned, regardless of what solution you're using, customers struggle and have issues around drivers. So Eric can speak to pros and cons and how we do things with SmartDeploy and some best practices there.
Yeah, thanks, Spencer. Device drivers are a major consideration when you're deploying images. You want to make sure that you get your machines deployed right the first time. You need your storage drivers in there, your NIC drivers, as well as all the other peripheral devices, and you want it done the first time with the most updated drivers. So MDT does give you a number of different options for handling this. The out-of-box, most easy way to do it is just set up a device with all the drivers that you want, shut it down and capture it in that state, and then you can deploy that image out to the same devices and have it work perfect every time. However, that doesn't give you a lot of flexibility in using that image on multiple different devices. There are some more advanced options there that MDT does expose, where you could use a blob of drivers and let plug and play figure out which ones are supposed to be used on the device that you're deploying to. And that works sometimes, but sometimes plug and play can get it wrong and you don't end up with the exact drivers that you want. And then there's the third option, which is creating queries and specifying just the drivers that you want for each deployment based on the machine type. That is an option in MDT, but you're kind of left to manage it all yourself. You're going to the OEM of the device, downloading those drivers, extracting them, putting them into the correct buckets with the correct queries to get everything to work. So that being said, that third way, the exact way, is the way that SmartDeploy works out of box. SmartDeploy engineers go and do all the legwork for you, downloading the drivers, creating those machine-specific queries, making sure that everything is going to work perfect for the device that you're deploying to, regardless of the image that you're using. So it kind of speaks to the easy use, but also make sure that you're getting what you need out there correctly every time. And you can see this translate also to deployment speed. So these are some numbers based on the unique devices that you have in your organization. So you can see across the bottom, the more unique model types that you have, the more the time ramps up in trying to actually get these deployments completed. So with SmartDeploy, you're simply on the hook for going and downloading a new driver package and combining that with your image at deployment time. With different tool sets, you're stuck managing those drivers yourself, so going and downloading and finding exactly what you need, which makes the time ramp up as you move to the right. Hand it back over to Spencer to talk some more.
Cool. So consider your support options. I mean, for MDT, if you're a database architect and a PowerShell pro and command line junkie, and you like searching through TechNet forums and YouTube videos and real do-it-yourselfer to try and figure out cool ways, and there's a ton of Microsoft MVPs and champions out there that have fantastic content, and a lot of creative IT pros that have used MDT in a bunch of different ways and figure out a lot of really cool ways of doing really custom stuff. That's it's really admirable, and I think it's wonderful. But it requires that you've got the wiring and skill and time and expertise for all of that. With SmartDeploy, we there's not a licensing. MDT, we say it's free, but really that means it just doesn't have a licensing cost. So for SmartDeploy, it is a paid solution. It's not terribly expensive. I mean, it's quite inexpensive according to most of our customers. But what that buys you is a turnkey thing and an ability to pick up the phone and call a friendly IT professional in our Seattle, Washington headquarters office. And we're committed to this product. We're focused on this product. This is we make this thing and we sell this thing. This is our baby, and we're focused on it, and we're focused on listening to you and adding the discrete features over time to the product. We're constantly trying to make it better, trying to make it easier to use. We're trying to factor in the technical glitches that happen over time and reinvest that back into the product, and that comes through our technical support channel where customers that have issues or feedback or questions, well, we want to reduce the churn on that, and so we consistently focusing on this product, putting that in the product, and making sure that it's product gets better and better over time, and being committed to our customers and paying attention and focusing on this. So that's just kind of a piece that shows up as you need support in helping tackle some of these challenges. That's getting seemingly more and more difficult as operating systems evolve, as devices evolve. It's down in the weeds, and you hear customers having trouble going from BIOS to UEFI, or trying to reimage a Windows, a KB Lake device with Windows 7 that's not supported. Like all this stuff has business impact, and we're here to help, and that's what we're making this product for. I did want to have Eric talk a little bit more about MDT and how to be successful with it. Again, if you're a DBA and you like INI files and you want to be a PowerShell scripting champion and make your own answer files and everything else to do custom and unique stuff, like there's some good ways of going about that, and I think Eric has some tips to share with you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Spencer. And like Spencer mentioned earlier, Microsoft Deployment Toolkit can be a great tool set for you if you have the time and you want to put the effort into actually making it work specifically the way you want it to. You're on the hook for your time and figuring out how to make those things work, but there are some good guides and websites that are specifically around content for MDT that you could check out. TechNet has some resources as well to walk you through everything, get you at least set up in the most basic way. One of the things that we also like to do internally for our tool, and we suggest for MDT, and we've been doing since we architected this product, what feels like eons ago now, is using a virtual machine for your reference point. That just helps you keep things as clean as possible, and it's also portable, so you don't have to go find a power cord and a mouse and keyboard and monitor for the machine that you're trying to create an image of. If you have a virtual reference machine, you can simply just power it on, run some updates, turn it back off. Some other helpful things are standardizing on hardware. So this can be not only manufacturers, but also models. The lower number of models or specific hardware that you have to support, the more successful you're going to be, just because that you don't have to spend as much time trying to figure out how each device works. And then consider your long-term goals. So if you're, going from Windows 7 to Windows 10 or UEFI, make sure that you kind of figure out what you need to do to get those things to work.
Great. Thank you, Eric and Spencer, for getting through those slides. That was really great information. I want to go ahead and turn things over now to our guest speaker, Barry Weiss. He has over 33 years of IT experience, and he is a SmartDeploy customer who has been using SmartDeploy for a couple of years now, but prior to that had been using MDT. And he and I had a conversation a few weeks ago about his experience using MDT and some of the things in their organization that led them to look towards something else. And I'm going to hand things over to Barry now so that he can tell us a little bit more about his background, his experience with MDT, and his experience with SmartDeploy now as well. So I'll hand things over to you, Barry.
Thank you, Heidi. I hope you can hear me okay.
We can.
Great. I've been with the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation since its inception, about 16 and a half years now. We're about 100 users today, and on my IT team, we have it broken up into two sections, one operations and one development. So on the operations side, we have 2 folks, and on the development side, we have 2 folks, and then I span both. So it's a total of 5 people on the team. You guys may be familiar with Gordon Moore. He's co-founder of Intel and the author of Moore's Law. And so it's been interesting working here, given that the foundation exists from Gordon's contribution to the technology industry, and the dollars that we have is rooted in technology. And so the organization has put a lot of emphasis on having up-to-date and first-in-class technology. So that said, we have a refresh cycle of every 3 years that we refresh the users' laptops. And we're right at that 3-year mark where I'm doing a new refresh right now. But the last refresh, 3 years ago, I was using MDT. And I recall, every year I go to the big Microsoft conference for IT professionals called Microsoft Ignite. It was formerly Microsoft Tech Ed. And I would go to every MDT session that they had, and the guys there would just make it look so easy. And then once I got back to the office and started working with it, I found it to be a little bit challenging. Having done this for a long time, I pride myself. I think I'm pretty good with software, but MDT just really befuddled me. And I recall in the last rollout of laptops, I actually found myself sleeping at the office over the weekend trying to get MDT to work. I mean, it was just an awful experience. And like was said previously, it does work, but maybe you guys are like us here, where we're a small shop, and with a small shop in IT, you wear many hats, and so imaging for us is something that we do a heavy lift on in this every 3-year interval, and then very lightly in between. And so with MDT, it seems like you really need to know the ins and outs of the program and use it on a regular basis. And so, since that's really not how we operate, I just found that MDT was very challenging. We don't have the luxury of having one single person that's dedicated to imaging full time. And so in going to some of those technology conferences, I found and heard of SmartDeploy as an alternative to using MDT. And so given my experience and challenges with MDT, I thought, hey, it certainly can't be worse. So I started working with the trial and found it to be extremely user-friendly, and it really took away the complexity and the ins and outs that you really need to know with MDT. And SmartDeploy has, really good videos on their website stepping you through the processes. So it was very easy to follow. And one of the things that I really love about SmartDeploy is you can have an answer file. So for my technicians that really aren't developing the images, I've set up the answer file, so once they start the deployment process, all they have to do is enter in the computer name, and SmartDeploy takes care of the rest. So from that perspective, it's been terrific. And then going a step farther, with MDT, as was mentioned, it's a free product, which is great, but you kind of get what you pay for. And so if you do have some challenges, getting support for that is difficult. So with SmartDeploy, I just have to say, in all my experience and working with many vendors, their support has been fantastic. And I'll give you some examples of that just to let you know that, I'm just not saying that. So for this latest refresh that we're doing right now, we're deploying 100 brand new laptops. They're HP laptops, and there was a new model. And I contacted SmartDeploy, and you can go online and say, hey, can you guys do a platform pack which contains all the drivers for this model? And so they said sure, and they went ahead and developed the platform pack. And I was having some challenges with it. And so in talking back and forth with them, one of the things that came up, you guys may be familiar with some vulnerabilities that were found in the TPM chip. And so there were some new drivers that I wanted to be able to incorporate into the driver pack so that as I'm rolling out these new laptops, that vulnerability would be patched through the process. And so I talked to SmartDeploy about that. And they said, that it's kind of tricky, and they offered to have me actually send them the hardware, the laptop to them, so that they can actually develop the platform pack with the actual hardware and make sure that the vulnerability and the scripting that they would have to add for this would be done and done correctly. So, I really haven't heard of that before, and they offered that. That's not something I actually asked for. So I went ahead and I sent them the hardware, and they turned it around really quickly, and they were able to develop the platform pack. And they said, hey, we developed the platform pack, go ahead and download it and give it a try. So I did, and I, had some issues, this wasn't right, that wasn't right. And said, oh, okay, we see that. And they, made some tweaks to it and said, okay, there's a new version, go ahead and download it. And sure enough, it started working great. And so now I'm able to include, all the drivers, including that vulnerability with this brand new hardware. And I'm able to deploy very simply. So that's been terrific. One of the other things that's unique about the platform pack is not only do they develop that for you, but if I find that, there's, an additional driver that I want to include, or perhaps I'll give another example. I was having some challenges with the wireless driver. And I went to Intel's site, and they had an updated version that was more recent than was on the HP website. So I was able to download that. And with SmartDeploy, they give you the facility to modify the platform pack yourself. So I was able to bring up the platform pack, and I deleted the wireless driver that was in the platform pack and easily added the new wireless driver in there. And so now I had my new platform pack with all the scripting and all the good stuff that SmartDeploy did, as well as my updated wireless driver, and that resolved my issue. The other thing that is good is they have a really good forum called deploycentral.com, and you can peruse that and see all the questions and answers that people are having. And even as a trial user, you can use that forum and post on there, and they're very responsive. And so, I just found myself perusing that, seeing what other challenges people have, and often get an answer to my question from there. So, comparing MDT to SmartDeploy, it's really been night and day, and I really can't say enough good things about SmartDeploy.
Well, thank you so much, Barry. We really appreciate you telling your story. I think that was probably really helpful for people to hear, and so thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I'm going to hand things over to Spencer. We have just a few minutes left, so we're going to jump in. He's going to just do a real quick demo just so everyone here can actually see the SmartDeploy product, give you a quick highlight of a few things, and then we'll jump right into the raffle winner and then the Q&A. So I'll hand things back to Spencer.
Perfect. Thank you, Heidi. So those of you familiar with MDT are used to looking at MMC snap-ins, PowerShell Blue backgrounds, Notepad.exe, that type of thing. SmartDeploy has a nice central UI. We try and hide all that fancy magic stuff under the skin and just handle it for you. So, a quick example of that everything's all wizard driven. We help you build out all of your WIMs and download your driver packs and march you through everything. Just one quick example is, hey, if you wanted to help automate computer naming, you could go ahead and do that with a simple couple clicks of a button to say, hey, just reuse the existing name, or pull from the name from the BIOS, or randomly generate one. Usually that's a whole separate thing that would require standing up a database and architecting that out and writing actual code to be able to script those kinds of things. So that's just one small example of how SmartDeploy plays out, and the wizard management and everything. You could also do zero-touch push deployments to computers as well. There's an optional SmartDeploy client. If you install it, it could report back to the central console and select a bunch of machines at once, hit deploy now, or schedule that for some time in the future. Multicast is built right in. Wake on LAN is built right in. It's simple and straightforward. Kick that off, and that's a quick demo of a zero-touch push deployment to multiple machines. Actual deployments look. One last thing to show you, and then we'll switch back to Heidi. This is our Windows pre-installation environment. This is a machine that I've got booted up to that, and it has an answer file that's attended. So right now it's pulling all the settings that I want, mapping a drive to the share to pick my right image. I already know how I want my computers to be named and everything else, and you can just next finish your way through all of this. Sorry, one last brief thing to sort of touch on as well is we do have the ability to support cloud deployment using your own cloud storage providers. So when you go build this out, and let us know this feature's in public beta, I just need to enable it for you as part of your trial, but if you're interested, you can go ahead and store everything out to Google Drive, OneDrive for Business, or Dropbox, and do deployments through the cloud using SmartDeploy. A lot more exciting news and features on this front, but we're excited for this feature set and future roadmap. So just a couple quick things to point out to you to just give you a better idea about what SmartDeploy looks like and what to expect if you go ahead and download and want to use the product.
Thank you, Spencer. And if anyone would like to see more of the product and actually see a full end-to-end demo, we do offer a live demo every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So you can access or sign up for that on our website. Just go to smartdeploy.com/demo, and there's a registration page. You can sign up for an upcoming session. I know that was just a quick little bit of the product. So if you're interested in seeing more, be sure and sign up for that tomorrow or at an upcoming session. And then if you would like to go ahead and try the product itself, we do offer a full 15-day fully functioning trial. You're using the actual version of the product, and you basically get full 15-day access to it. So you can access that, sign up to create an account and download that at smartdeploy.com/free trial. You can go ahead and do that now and kick things off there. At this point, I would like to announce our raffle winner. So we appreciate everyone being here, and we have drawn a name, and Rayfield Leatherwood, you are our winner. So you are going to get 25 SmartDeploy licenses. So watch for an email from Carrie on the SmartDeploy team, and we'll get you your free access to those licenses. And at this point as well, again, want to say thank you. We're right up at our 30-minute mark, but we are going to stick around for Q&A. So if you do have questions, which there are some coming in right now that we'll jump into, but I realize some of you are going to have to head off to other meetings. So watch for that link to the recording tomorrow. If you can, you can fast forward ahead and just jump to the Q&A portion, which we will include on that recording. So if you do need to jump off, thank you again so much for being here. There's the free trial as well as the demo tomorrow. So lots of options, and we look forward to working with you further. So I'm going to jump right in here to the Q&A. We have a number of questions coming in. Let's see here. I have some questions here about pricing for SmartDeploy. Spencer, if you wouldn't mind just covering a little bit about how SmartDeploy is licensed and cost information.
Sure. So SmartDeploy is licensed on a per machine basis. What that means is you need a license for the total number of computers that you want to reimage with the product. You can take a look at smartdeploy.com/buy. It's a little calculator that gives you some idea about MSRP, but it's a one-time fee for the license. Licenses never expire. They're good for forever on the total number of computers you bought it for. Reimage machines as much as you want. Product includes support for at least the first year. You get a choice of the level of support that you want. Then you just renew the maintenance on an annual subscription on an annual basis as you so choose. We're all set up to sell directly to you with a custom quote and purchase order, credit card, that type of thing, or we can get a quote over to your favorite software reseller at Insight, CDW, Zone, SoftChoice, PC Mall, Connections. All those kinds of places are fully supported. So try to make that part super easy.
Great, thanks, Spencer. And someone else asking about nonprofit pricing.
Yep, special discounts for education and nonprofit for sure.
Perfect. Another clarification, someone wrote in a little bit early on asking if, does SmartDeploy actually leverage MDT in any way when it runs?
No, we use the Microsoft 80K components as part of the install, but it doesn't have anything to do with MDT. They're completely two standalone products, they're traditionally used mutually exclusively. Customers are using one or the other and almost never together, and there is no interdependency.
Okay. Someone is asking about the zero-touch deployment, network deployment. Does that utilize WDS?
Nope, that's all in box with SmartDeploy as well. We do have an optional SmartDeploy client or agent. All it needs to know is the computer name or IP address of the console machine that we looked at earlier. Assuming you've got those two pieces in place, then you've got a connection broker and you can do zero-touch push deployments that way. We do support using WDS. We would use WDS for Pixie booting computers. A good scenario of that would be a brand new machine that you never want to see Windows Mini setup or walk through out-of-box experience, where you just unbox the machine, plug the network cable in, press F12, hit enter, and walk away. 10 minutes later, the machine will be ready. Well, 10 minutes to an hour, depending. But that would be the point of a good scenario to use SmartDeploy with WDS, and we give you the two components that you need for the integration, which is the boot information and the image.
Great, thank you, Spencer. And does SmartDeploy work on tablets such as the Microsoft Surface?
Yep, super popular device. You just download the pack for the Surface device and you're ready to roll.
That's right, and you can actually browse our platform pack library on the SmartDeploy website. You can look at that by clicking on the support menu item up at the top of the navigation of our website and then scrolling down to the platform pack library, and that'll let you see all of the different models that we support, that we have platform packs for currently. Again, as Barry mentioned, we also are building those constantly, whether it's customer request or just new models are being released and we know they're going to be needed at some point. So we try to get on those and stay on top of those. But if you'd like to take a look to see if the models that you are supporting are a part of our library already, you can certainly do that. You'll be downloading those from within the product itself, so that's another way to see that library. And let's see, we have a lot of questions coming in here, so if we don't get to your question today, we can certainly follow up offline. So if you still have questions, please feel free to reach out to us and we will make sure to get those questions answered for you. Let's see here. What function does SmartDeploy offer to craft a custom reference image?
Yeah, you can build pretty much whatever you want. I mean, the basic idea with SmartDeploy is you start with a virtual machine like Eric talked about. You can use Hyper-V or ESX or VMware Workstation, VirtualBox. There's a bunch of different virtualization software that's all supported and you can use. Support all the major stuff. But The idea is you install Windows on that thing, run Windows updates, install whatever applications you want. So put Office on it, an Acrobat Reader, your AV software, like make that be however you want. And then you just simply shut that down. SmartDeploy will take care of sysprep for you, makes it easy to capture and make a your WIM image of that. So you get to focus on making that custom golden image with the OS and apps and security and policy settings that you like, and we'll take care of the rest.
Great, thanks, Spencer. And how about the license model for the OS itself if the laptop is under OEM? Can you talk a little bit about Microsoft licensing, Windows licensing?
Yeah, for sure. So this is a topic that comes up a lot, and we actually did a webcast around this back earlier this year, and had a brand ambassador from Microsoft on to kind of talk about it. But essentially, what it comes down to is OEM machines ship with an OEM license, and really to technically have re-imaging rights, you need to have a volume license. What Microsoft does as part of their program, if you sign up for a volume license agreement, and I think the minimum is 5 licenses purchased, they will extend that volume license to any OEM device you have. So say if you bought volume licensing for Windows 10 Pro, and your OEM machines are coming with Windows 10 Pro, they'll extend your key out from the initial 5 to cover however many OEM machines you buy, so that you're all good to go from a licensing standpoint. And that's just said from a regulatory standpoint. From a technology standpoint, there's no difference for us based on the licensing. It really comes down to what Microsoft says that you can and cannot do.
Thanks, Eric. Another question, can SmartDeploy, let's see here, can SmartDeploy update the firmware on target? No, wait, that's not the one. Is that the one? Yeah. Can SmartDeploy also update the firmware on target machines as part of the deploy process?
Yeah, for sure. So I think this is kind of what Barry's talking about as well. There have been some vulnerabilities that have come out in AMT, and those are patched, but not through a driver or anything like that. It's actually a firmware applications or firmware updates. We're adding that ability into the platform packs for the models that need it, where we actually can, where we get a runnable package from the OEM that is going to work out, and we can guarantee will work as part of deployment. So you'll see it listed in the platform packs if you ever take a look at them. It's under the AMT node, so you can just right-click and edit those from the platform pack library.
Thanks, Eric. Are there any UEFI issues encountered?
We fully support UEFI and legacy BIOS. We take care of that for you. Essentially, however the machine is set when it boots to our PE environment is what we'll see and we'll use. As you probably have noticed, that UEFI has implications for hard disk layouts, and hard disk layouts are directly related to re-imaging the drive. And so we'll see that and detect it and set the device up to be successful in whatever mode you've set it to be in. Some devices are shipping UEFI only, and we know that. Other machines you can toggle between the two. So just make sure you set it how you want it to be before you boot to our PE environment, and we'll take care of the rest.
Yeah, for sure. And to expand on that, when you're actually creating your virtual reference machine, you don't even need to think about whether or not you're deploying to a UEFI-based device. You can have one image and deploy it to a room full of 50 different models that are all booting in different manners. One could be legacy boot, one could be UEFI, one could be UEFI with secure boot, and we'll just take care of it all for you.
Great. And we'll just answer a few more questions here. Again, we're almost 10 minutes past the end of the webcast, so I would definitely want to be respectful of your time. One question here. Do you have a lot of customers that have come from SCCM? Spencer, maybe you have some insight there.
Yeah, we do. I mean, a lot of teams that are successful with Config Manager are bigger teams and that are using more components of Config Manager than just the OSD portion. There is a better together story, MDT plus Config Manager as well. There are some features and automation benefits that you get using those two in parallel. The customers that are using SCCM may want it for asset management or tracking or ongoing patches or some other thing. And the SCCM, Config Manager is a very large tool and product. It can do a ton of stuff, but again, it's very broad, but it's not very deep, and it requires you to make it have that deep integration in your organization. It can work like a champion for sure, but there's all the overhead associated with you setting it up to do it because you're all on your own to do it. But some customers do use SmartDeploy with Config Manager for the value of the device drivers. we've sold the product to customers just to have access to the platform pack library, and they literally download them and basically import that content into their config manager library because it's enough time savings on that front. So somewhat of a better together story, but it's a pretty loose association, and customers are usually kind of one or the other. And honestly, by the time some organizations have taken the time and energy and effort and calories to set that up and it's working good for them, it's pretty sticky, and they don't often move off until the people on their team who know how to use it are no longer on that team. They take a different job or whatever. Now the organization doesn't know how to use this big fancy tool anymore. So that's usually how it winds up.
Great. Thanks, Spencer. And one last question here. Joe wants to know more about the cloud-based deployment feature and what the roadmap looks like for that.
Yeah, so Eric's team is working really hard on that. We've got a lot of good customer feedback so far. Our thought was to try and have the most cost-effective way of doing remote imaging to branch office and home users. So leveraging having the ability to use a major cloud storage provider as the content distribution mechanism was step one. Currently today, you need to be same network, so VPNs involved or whatever to be samesies there. In the future, we want to remove that barrier. So Eric's team is building out essentially a cloud broker so that you can truly do imaging over the internet. So you sitting at your desk in your corporate office should be able to right-click, deploy Susie's machine in 4 states away. So we're trying to get customers out of the FedEx and UPS game, try and get endpoints more up to date and image more closely to wherever they need to land, so you don't have to overnight a machine back to corporate to re-image it and have end user downtime, etc. So the biggest things are usability, trying to make the feature more accessible, easier to use, have it make more sense. We've gotten some feedback there, and also this cloud broker piece is something we're excited about.
Thanks, Spencer. And just a reminder that cloud deployment capability is in public beta right now. When you go download the free trial, that won't be enabled by default. So just go ahead and reach out to us. You can email us at sales@smartdeploy.com or reach out to your account manager and we can turn that on for you. So that is something we would love your feedback on and have some exciting things in the future for that. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things for the day. Thank you to everyone who stuck around. We still have quite a few people here, so we really appreciate you taking the time, and we'd love to continue the conversation offline. So let's be sure and connect if there are still questions that you have. Eric and Spencer are available. Your account manager is certainly available, and we really look forward to learning more about your needs, and hopefully we can continue working together in the future. So have a great rest of your Tuesday, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.